Indonesia banned its nickel exports to take the industry back from China. The ban worked. China now controls 3/4 of the refineries that ban forced into existence. 67% of the world's mined nickel now comes from Indonesia. Billions of dollars in smelters. The largest nickel refining base on Earth, built inside a single decade. Every headline calls it the Saudi Arabia of the battery era. The cap tables say something else. Control of a mineral economy does not sit around. It sits in 3 places: the technology that processes the ore, the imported inputs that keep those plants running, the chemistry downstream that decides whether the mineral is still wanted at all. Indonesia captured none of the 3. It captured the mines, the coal smoke, and the tailings ponds. China captured everything that mattered. By owning the plants Indonesia believed it had won. Hosting a refinery and controlling a refinery are 2 different things, and almost nobody counted the difference. Start with the number that is supposed to settle the argument. Indonesia pulled roughly 2.6 million metric tons of nickel out of the ground in 2025. No other country is close. That number is supposed to mean dominance. It means the opposite. A mineral chain has 3 layers: extraction at the bottom, where the ore is dug, refining and chemical processing in the middle, where the ore becomes something a battery can use, and cell and cathode manufacturing at the top, where the money and the market sit. The mine is the bottom layer, and the bottom layer is the price taker. When a wave of new Indonesian supply pushed the nickel price down and kept it down, it was the miners who absorbed the loss, not the refinery owners and not the battery makers. Volume at the bottom of the chain does not buy power. It buys exposure. Bury the first instinct. The country that mines the most nickel is not the country that runs the nickel economy. It holds the cheapest, most replaceable seat at the table, and it watches the price move against it. If the mine is the weak layer, the obvious move is to climb. Indonesia did exactly that. In 2020, it banned the export of raw nickel ore outright. The logic was clean. Any company that wanted the ore would now have to build the refinery inside Indonesia to reach it. They came, and they built, and within a decade, Indonesia became the largest nickel refining location on Earth. So Indonesia climbed the layer. Does that mean it owns the refining industry? Trace the ownership. And the answer is no. Indonesia's refining capacity, around 8 million tons a year, is spread across more than 30 companies on paper. Follow those companies through their holding structures in Singapore and Hong Kong, and the picture inverts. Chinese firms control roughly 75% of that capacity. 2 of them, Tsingshan Holding Group and Jiangsu Delong Nickel Industry, account for more than 70% on their own. The Chinese capital sunk into these plants is estimated at around $14 billion. This is the one place the familiar story about China is wrong, and it is wrong in China's favor. Nickel is the single major battery mineral where China is not the top refiner by location. Indonesia holds that title. But the plants flying the Indonesian flag are 3/4 Chinese owned. Indonesia did not capture the refining industry. It captured the address. China captured the asset. A factory on your soil is not a factory in your hands. What Indonesia built was a base of tenants it now subsidizes with its own ore. Here is where the trap gets harder to break. Ownership can change. A share register can be rewritten. If the lock were only equity, Indonesia could still claw it back. The lock is not equity. It is far cheaper than a single share, and it arrives by tanker. 2 processes turn Indonesian ore into battery material. The first, the rotary kiln electric furnace route, runs on captive coal power and produces nickel pig iron and matte. The second, high-pressure acid leach, is the route that makes the high-grade material electric cars need, and it is technically brutal. It depends on specialized high-pressure vessels and control systems, much of that equipment sourced from Chinese suppliers, and it consumes large volumes of sulfuric acid, a significant share of it Chinese supplied or produced in dedicated acid plants the Chinese partners built next to the refineries, starve those plants of acid and imported equipment, and they slow down. Ownership is not the chain holding this industry in place. Physical dependence is. There is a second chain layered on the first. Long-term offtake contracts commit the refined output, mixed hydroxide and matte, to Chinese cathode and battery makers at index-linked prices before any of it leaves an Indonesian port. Indonesia can host the molecules. It does not decide where they go. This cannot be undone with a signature. You cannot nationalize a supply line you do not manufacture, and you cannot recall a cargo you already sold. If this is the kind of analysis you want more of, subscribing is how you keep getting it. Every layer so far, the mines, the plants, the acid, the contracts, is engineered around one thing: nickel. And the story everyone tells about nickel is that it is the future, the metal of the electric car. The country that built Indonesia's nickel industry is quietly betting it is not. The battery market is moving off nickel. The high nickel chemistries, NMC and NCA, are losing ground to lithium iron phosphate, a cell that contains no nickel at all. This is not a forecast. Lithium iron phosphate now powers close to half of the world's electric cars, up from under 10% in 2020. The companies driving that shift are Chinese. CATL and BYD anchor the lithium iron phosphate ecosystem. The same country that owns Indonesia's nickel refineries is the country steering the market away from nickel. Indonesia made its maximum bet on nickel at the exact moment its own refinery owners began leaving nickel behind. Nickel and the electric future stopped being the same bet, and Indonesia put its largest chips on the wrong half. Its own banker was already standing up from the table. There is one obvious escape left. If nickel is the trap, switch to the nickel-free battery and walk out. The exit door has the same owner as the room. Lithium iron phosphate does not run on nickel. It runs on processed phosphate and manganese, and those inputs are concentrated in China even more tightly than nickel ever was. By the IEA's accounting, China produces roughly 95% of the world's battery-grade manganese sulfate and about 3/4 of its purified phosphoric acid. The two processed ingredients an LFP cell cannot be built without. Switching the chemistry away from nickel does not switch the dependency away from China. It moves that dependency one room over into a room with the same landlord. There is no clean technology sitting outside Chinese control, waiting to be picked. For the battery economy, every door has the same lock. Indonesia made its bet years ago, when the trap was not yet fully visible. The Philippines made its bet in 2025, with all of it in plain sight. The headlines still say the Philippines is about to copy Jakarta, ban its ore, and climb the chain. The Philippines already wrote that ban and then deleted it. On February 3rd, 2025, the Philippine Senate passed an export ban inside Senate Bill 2826. By June, the ban provision was stripped out, with the domestic nickel industry pushing for its removal. In September 2025, President Marcos signed Republic Act 12,253, the Enhanced Fiscal Regime for Large-Scale Metallic Mining Act. It carries a windfall profit tax of 1 to 10% and a margin-based royalty of 1 to 5%. It carries no export ban. The Philippines chose to tax the raw ore harder and keep shipping it, rather than gamble on climbing a chain it had just watched close around Indonesia. This was not pride, and it was not laziness. It was arithmetic. The Philippines has lower grade ore than Indonesia, no cheap captive power, and weak processing infrastructure, and it faces a global nickel market already drowning in Indonesian supply, which makes a new Philippine refinery something no bank will finance, so it stayed what it is. The world's second largest nickel producer, around 10.5% of global output, shipping roughly 45 million wet metric tons of raw ore in 2024, about 35 million of it straight to China. The one piece of refining it does have is not Chinese and not growing. Two high-pressure acid leach plants, Coral Bay in Palawan and Taganito in Surigao, both run by Nickel Asia with Japan's Sumitomo Metal Mining, producing mixed sulfide that is finished in Japan. Sumitomo has already signaled it will close Coral Bay within a few years. The Philippine refining layer is not waiting to grow into Indonesia's, it is contracting. The Philippines is not on the verge of becoming the next Indonesia. It looked hard at the next Indonesia and wanted no part of it. Run the whole pattern in one breath. Indonesia banned exports to capture an industry and ended up hosting it for the country that actually owns it. It mines the most nickel and absorbs the price crashes. It built the refineries and imported the locks that run them. It bet everything on nickel as the buyer pivoted to a battery with none. And every escape route, including the nickel-free one, leads back to the same set of owners. The map shows a diversified supply chain, an Indonesian refining powerhouse, a rising Philippine producer. The cap table shows one country holding the technology, the inputs, the contracts, and the chemistry roadmap. The map and the cap table are telling two different stories, and only one of them is about control. The oil century taught one lesson: own the resource, hold the power. The mineral century runs on the reverse. Power belongs to whoever owns the step. The resource cannot skip the refining, the inputs, the chemistry, and that owner does not need to dig a single ton or raise its own flag over a single plant. Indonesia dug the most and raised its flag over the most and controls the least. The Philippines read the same rule and refused to play. Control was never in the ground. It was never even in the building. It was in who decided what the building was for. You made it to the end, which means you think the way this channel thinks. Subscribe, and the next one finds you.